All right, we're going.
Okay, great.
So, since this will be going live, people are wondering who the voice is. Would you care to introduce yourself? Are you brave enough to introduce yourself and admit to what you've done?
Yes, I can admit, um, the secret has been held long enough. It's actually not been held that long. I told a little bit about this back in 2015, but my name is Aaron Dean. I am the author of the fanfic, trollfic Naruto Veangance Revelaitons.
It's nice to finally have the official pronunciation guide.
Mhm.
Although I'm given to understand that it got deleted several times, and each of those times it had a slightly different misspelling of the name. Is that correct?
Yes. The first was. There's actually only two misspellings. The first was Vegans Revelaitons, so it was a P instead of an O, I believe. And then the second was Vianjance Revelaitons. And then when quote unquote Benji reposted it, it was the same misspelled title.
And just so everyone knows, I have confirmed this that Aaron is the author to the best of my ability. He gave me an email and a password to unlock it, and it had all of the old notifications for for NVR. And to my mind, that is as definitive proof as it is possible to get. So I am considering this a legitimate confession. So let's talk a little bit, Aaron, about why you did this to me, especially. Why you inflicted this upon the world. Like, if you don't mind, do you have the text file open?
Oh, like the original text?
Or like do you have I have a PDF that I'm reading right now. Do you have
Yeah,
anything like that?
I can get to it real quick.
So I'm just gonna read the first two sentences, and for those who are unfamiliar, this will give them an idea. Um, so we have, this is chapter 1, new power, all caps. So this is a story right just by me. It's in Naruto world, so I hope you guys lick it. And there's no dudes fucking because that is fucking gross. I'm not a fucking yao. I don't even know how I would pronounce that misspelling. Yaio, faggot he's. So that's how it starts. We're not even into the chapter, the first chapter, and we already have this horrible conglomeration of terrible things. The title is misspelled another time before the chapter name is given again redundantly. The first sentence lasts 3 lines and contains the phrase, I met a girl who was really hot, her name was Sakura. Why did you do this, Aaron? Why did you do this to the good people of the world?
Okay. Well, thankfully I have it open now. Somebody took the time to do a very nice repost of the entire fic on Blogspot a while back.
Oh. Yeah, this was when it got taken down, and I did not have the ability to complete the dramatic reading.
Yeah. It was really strange because, like, not long after that, like a few days after the takedown happened, it popped up on Scribd, and I was like, who the fuck took the time to do this? Because it wasn't me. I didn't put it there. But, to answer the question, why did I do it? I started writing this in January 2011. Actually, I began it like December 2016, like trying to figure out like how is this going to be written? What's the style? Let me make my fingers know how to type like this. Be able to get in that mode.
Sorry, you said January 2016?
Not sorry, 2010.
Okay.
Yes. And then I posted it January 2011. And I mean, the reason was I was a mildly edgy 17-year-old. Well, 16, then going on 17 as I turned 17 August of that year. The fic ended mid-October 2011, I think.
Which is, in a way, slightly impressive, because that is, I don't know really what to call them, but 69 increments of chapters were posted within a very short time span, really. And then followed up with that the one bonus chapter.
Yeah, 70.
You were cranking them out. You were the guided by voices of your time.
Thank you. I mean, it came out from like a lot of things. Like I think when I discovered My Immortal in like 2008 and kind of became obsessed with it over the couple of years after that, like reading it and gaining more things every time and finding it to be hilarious. And at the time as well, like I was on TV Tropes a lot, which is a site that I think is terrible now. But at the time, of course, I loved it. And even so, though, I noticed like the sheer amount of weebs and otaku on there, and I hated it
Okay.
so much. And I hated some of the attitude that people had about like Western animation and whatnot. And so I really wanted to kind of take aim at them. I didn't really know how, though, at first. And I was like, well, wait. You know, there's not really any sort of fanfic that is aimed at anime in the way that, like, My Immortal is. You know, I think there was, at the time, Light and Dark Adventures of Dark Yagami.
Which is, real quick, the greatest piece of writing of our time. Link in the description. Everyone read it right fucking now. Listen to the dramatic reading by the Holy Cabbage. Greatest piece of writing all time. And rant. Sorry, go. You can continue.
No, it was great. But it was more obviously like parody and satire, you know? Whereas I wanted to make something that could conceivably have been real by some very, very stupid, ignorant, awful person. And that's also where it kind of came from. It was like at the time I was a not normie teenager, quote unquote.
Right.
And I wanted to take aim at like teenage boys my age that I really didn't like. And, you know, just the misogyny that so many of them have and whatnot, and some of the more toxic elements that I found in, like, weeb culture. And then just other things that bugged me. Like, Jake was just kind of a hate sink for different things I didn't like at the time. Most of those things I still don't like. There's one that I'll talk about later that I really regret. But
I'm surprised there's only one that you really regret.
well, I regret a lot of things about this thing, but more in terms of like making Jake hate certain things.
Right.
See, there's two. There's
Okay.
two that I regret. But like if I'd written it now, he would like those things. So, but yeah, there's a lot of reasons behind it. But honestly, the bottom line was I wanted to troll, and I wanted to try and do a good job and do something very elaborate and large, you know?
You saw My Immortal, and you said to yourself, I can do worse than this.
Yes, I mean, that's actually kind of what I said, is like, I can make something a lot more devastating and traumatizing than this. And expansive.
Yeah, which is true. I mentioned this to you in our chat over email, but I was extremely relieved to have it finally confirmed that it's a troll fic, because the implications of it being real are terrible in multiple ways. For instance, I don't have the exact chapter, but there's one author's note where you say when Jake is talking to the audience, and he's saying, "My mother drank when she had me," and that is, you know, one of the less okay things in the story. I believe there's another when there's like some sort of divorce drama, or was that on Twitter that you did that? Twitter at AnimeJake13, right?
Yes. Anime Jake 9. It was just Anime Jake at Anime Jake.
Okay.
I think that profile is still there as well.
I believe it is. It was the last time I checked. Which you did almost like a character study of like this made up person.
Yeah.
And like the character study is that he is universally horrible, but like there's a possibility that like these horrible things happen to him, and it's vaguely like a traumatic downfall story, like beyond everything else. If you don't mind my being very liberal artsy for a moment.
No, no. I mean, that was actually one of the big things I was interested in was creating a meta narrative because My Immortal had those hints of that, like the whole drama between Tara and whatever her friend was called.
Raven, right?
And Tara and Raven, like, and that was like, oh, let's have more of that, you know. That way, it is more expansive and complex, and in theory, feels more real. Especially like by then introducing characters in this person's life, you know, their quote unquote family, and having it spread upon multiple platforms like Twitter, like DeviantArt.
And DeviantArt, you committed for a period of time on the DeviantArt. I think you might have gone too deep into the rabbit hole. You know,
I did.
like there was an analysis of like a story. I forget which one that I read once, and the person talked about like the author creating a story so big that it destroyed himself or something like that. And I almost feel that's like almost what happened to you. Like when you're drawing intentionally terrible hentai
Yeah.
to kind of satirize like a specific like fetish or ideal. Like it's quite a deep trip right there.
Yeah, and you know, that DeviantArt thing, that was kind of an expansion on like, here's me dunking on things I hate, which was DeviantArt culture. That place is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. And so that was me kind of going into that, and I ended up getting like a lot of different like sporkings via DeviantArt, and that's also where I did the lesser known, but in some ways one I'm at times more proud of, New Champion Evangelion, which is a much shorter fic and that I never completed.
Is that the one where Jake is in a metal band, or is that a different one?
In a metal band? I mean, he's in a band in this fic.
No, I mean there's like the one part where he says like I've gotten into Dream Theater now. They're modern music, but they're still good.
Yes. Because I fucking hate Dream Theater. And yeah, again, like I said, that's always one thing that it was about, was dunking on things I hate. So I just kind of updated Jake at that time because in theory that was written in like 2012. So he's a little bit older, you know, he's 15. His tastes are changing. That's why the grammar's a little bit better in the story. There's more of an actual plot line going on, if only because the plot line is just ripping off every episode of Evangelion.
You know, I'll take your word for it, because one, I don't remember, but two, I definitely don't remember there being any kind of plot anywhere in anything you wrote as Jake, with all due respect.
Thank you. Yeah. But, I mean, also, though, I should know, like, DeviantArt is where I do have the most regrets, because I went too far down the rabbit hole. Once I started interacting with people as that persona, that got into a territory. That was actually really what drove me to stop. Was like, I can't do this.
I respect that massively. That you would like, you were holding the gun with a loaded chamber, and you put down the gun and emptied out the revolver. And I respect that. I respect that quite a lot.
Funny thing about the DeviantArt thing too is that like I was in college at that point, like so I had like plenty of classes and I had a life finally. But I was still spending time on that, and that was also the other reason I stopped. Is like I don't have the time for this anymore. You know.
I'm imagining you like in one window you're writing like some sort of essay, you know, for an English, you know, requirement, you know, analyzing the meeting of Plato's dialogues with Socrates, and like in the other tab you have one second. blur schmeltering who the fuck are who don't know anything, so just go away, and I'm not a troll. Trolling is for losers, and that's where I think. And no, Katie never peed in my mouth, though I've asked her to. Okay. That's from chapter 15, the Mothra.
Oh yeah, that chapter. Oh man, I can't wait to go over some of these chapters with you. But no, funny thing you say that because I know for a fact that that did happen. Like I would be done with homework, and I'm like, well, I'm sick of writing that shit. So here, I'm gonna go back to this for a while, and vice versa. So
I kind of want to like do a really over analysis of this like story of like the how you did so much for this terrible thing.
well,
Like I'm just imagining that you could actually do like how some people talk about like Pink Flamingos or Freddy Got Fingered, you know, as like
Yeah.
these misunderstood masterpieces that just happen to be disgusting and terrible.
I mean, I guess that's one thing that. Well, I'm not saying it is a masterpiece. I mean, so far, it's probably the most elaborate thing I've ever created. But like,
And how does that make you feel? How do you feel about that?
kind of like shit because I've directed for film. So like, that's kind of sad to me. But whatever, I accept it.
That's strength right there.
What's funny though is like I don't think people realize how actually planned out everything was in this.
Wait. You're serious now about
Yes, I wasn't just writing it on the fly. Like I
that?
had
Did you have a plot outline of some description?
yes
Oh my god.
outline for this thing. Like it was more vague. It was like vague. I just had like because the first thing is I didn't know how long I wanted it to go on for. First I was like, oh, 30 chapters, then I was like, oh, 50. Then I was like, no, I still have these ideas. So, oh, hey, how about 69? That seems like the kind of funny number this piece of shit would end it on.
I remember when before the TV tropes page for NVR got deleted because it was so bad that the TV tropes page got deleted. It like had the fan fiction went for 69 chapters. Like it added ellipses to that note.
Yeah.
And I believe like you do have notes at some point saying like I'm going to go for 30 and then later it's 50 and then later it changes.
Yeah. No, yeah, that does happen throughout the script where it's not script, that's me, but you know, throughout the fic where that process is kind of shown, but that was me. But no, I did map it out a fair amount. That didn't start until a while in, like most of the first, I would say 20-ish chapters, maybe more like 16 were a little loose, writing them more on the fly, although I still had an idea of like certain twists. And that was like the big thing. It was like I had this whole list. I think I actually still have it somewhere in my email. Like that's where I kept it all. Oh look, here we go. Naruto Veangance Revelaitons Trollfic. Oh wow, it's like the whole fucking thing. But yeah, I had this entire list of like here are the twists that are going to happen. Oh, here it is right now. Actually, if you want, I will forward it to you.
I would love that. I really want to see like if really two certain events were planned on.
You can always ask me too which ones they were.
Okay, so there is one scene. I believe it's in chapter 27.
Mm-hmm. I just sent it to you.
What was the chapter that you still had saved in your favorites? The one that I did the reading of?
Oh, 17.
17. I was 10 off because that contains the when I was dramatic reading, people thought that was like really the highest moment, and I'm wondering if that was. I would really like it to have been planned in some way. Where does it go?
Yeah, and I mean, again, for further proof, you can look at the date that that email was written originally.
I can't find it, but there's one part where you say, we went through the door and then we were on the other side, and I see, because this was back in the days when like screaming was just funny on its own, so I screamed a little bit about that, and people thought that was really funny. So was that planned, that you had that particular line? I went through the door and then I was on the other side, and I go on the rant like, because that's how doors work.
I'm not sure about that line.
Ah, okay.
That might have been one on the fly. Sometimes, like, I did plan out certain lines or typos.
Do you have an example of that?
I have multiple. I think it's chapter 8. There's a moment where Ronan's, or was it chapter 7? I can't remember which chapter I replaced Madara with replaced Orochimaru with Madara.
They merge after a while. That's one of the interesting things. It goes to like Orochi Madara, like he's not sure what the character is supposed to be.
I mean, I had a small list of like Madara misspellings, but like one is Mandark. Yeah. One was Mufasa. And then later on, there's a line where Sakura says his Buick is huge, referring to Ronan's dick. I like chapter titles like the Mothra, you know, and so on and so forth. Those kinds of typos, like I would plan those out. Yeah, but if you can see the email I sent you, it has the list of like what was planned out, some of what was planned out at that time. It includes both a list of like plot events and then like different tropes that I wanted to add, again back from when I used to like TV tropes. But
so I see one that was deleted, and I understand if you would not be comfortable saying, but I'm really curious as to what that was.
Yeah, which one?
It's where number 3 should be. It says not gonna use this one, with no indication of what it was. Do you have any idea, or is that a mystery for the ages?
I don't remember.
It's, that's probably for the best.
It's probably something that I ended up being like, this is too fucked. Or I just couldn't find a way to fit it in. Yeah, I don't remember what it would have been, so. But, oh shit, I didn't realize there's like a bunch of writings down here too. Later on, a lot of the references become more blatant, which were some of my minor hints about me being a troll, like when I referenced the wizard and shit like that.
I believe you referenced The Room, and that was what caused some people on TV tropes to doubt it the most.
Yes. Here's a list down here, like where I say I reference Xanadu, I reference Teen Witch, Robot Monster, Mommy Dearest, Manos Hands of Fate, The Room, and then The Wizard and some random other shit.
So this is a story with literary allusions in it.
Yes, there are multiple references. I'm not sure what the most obscure was, but
I'd say Manos, because that's just a chore to sit through, and no one should ever watch that.
I love that movie. But, yeah, the character of Bob, which, that was a chapter you didn't get to read, but he's the host of the Hideki Kobayashi show, which is like a weird version of Mori. And the whole time he speaks like Torgo. But yeah,
I'm regretting not having gone through that. I did talk a lot when I was still doing the readings of like potentially going back and like doing it again, since I was 13 when I started, and so the quality is quite low, and this is kind of making me want to go back, admittedly, like knowing that this is all planned to hurt me so much.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it was mostly twists that were planned.
Quote-unquote twists.
Yeah, quote-unquote twists. Although there were a few that I had happen that I didn't realize the implications of until way later on in terms of how fucked it is. Like, so there's the whole thing where Mandy is his daughter, but then we meet Taliana, which that's how you pronounce it. It's not Talania or Taline, it's Taliana.
Oh, is that how I pronounced it in the readings?
You said Talania, Gub Gub said Taline. Nobody ever got that it was Taliana for some reason.
It was really, look, we're trying to, like, I don't know if you've ever, like done this, but, like, there are these goggles you can wear that turn your vision upside down, and, like, your brain adjusts so that, like, your vision is correct, even though, like, it should be upside down. And then you take the goggles off, and your vision is still upside down. It's like we're looking at it through a kaleidoscope, trying to make sense.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so it's like Mandy is his daughter, and he has sex with Mandy. But then he meets Taliana, and he has sex with her. But then he finds out Taliana is his mother, and he still continues to have sex with her. But then it turns out that Taliana is a clone of Sakura. Those were more twists that came on the fly, and it wasn't until after that I started thinking about it. I was like, wow, that's really fucked up. This kid has major mommy issues. Which I then expanded into being part of the meta-narrative.
Wow, you did, like, I've said this a few times, but you did go deep in this.
Yeah. The biggest thing I planned ahead, I think I started planning in somewhere in, like, the chapter 20s that 70 would be a hacked chapter written by Benji. That was one of the earliest things I started planning when I was like, I want to set this fic really apart with something kind of weird. My Immortal also had the quote-unquote hacked chapter, but it wasn't that great.
Yeah, I've seen a few readings that just skip it altogether. I believe Man Without a Body just, like, left a note saying, like, I'm not doing the hacked chapter, it's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of wanted to do a good version of that, that was, like, really elaborate, was relatively well-written, and
I believe
remedied, like, done.
I believe, like, basically everyone who's gotten to the end has, like, just compared it to, like, a breath of fresh air, because, like, even if it is, like, kind of, like, silly, and like a product of its time back when, like, that was a force in fan fiction, like, it's not what we've been trudging through, It's like we finally get through, like, the swamp, and there's, like, a glade, and it's still, like, a little bit damp, but the sun is shining down on us now. We can see the way out.
For sure. I mean, so what are some more, like, specific questions you'd have about it, or Jake, or whatnot?
So there's the one moment that I think people have singled out as the worst one pretty universally. The one where trigger warning on this, but Sakura mutilates herself after cheating on Ronin as penance, because that's what Jake says needs to happen. So, like, was that planned? Like, why did you put that in?
Well, for starters, that is one of the big things I regret, is writing that. I think it went way too far. That went too far. I don't feel comfortable reading that now. And I mean, like, after that happens, it gets to a point of absurdity that it's almost like, well, okay, but it's still not, It's gross. But, at the time, I thought, oh, this will really be shocking. Except, actually, I don't really even think I did. That was still when I was a little bit more on the fly about it. And I just kind of, like, I tried to put my mindset into that of Jake's, of being like, well, how would Jake react if he was cheated on by somebody? He wouldn't force someone to do that himself, But in this realm of fiction that he's creating, he totally would. And so that's really where that came from. It was like he would probably write something very extreme, very gross that builds off of his misogyny.
Knowing that it's like intentionally bad almost makes it into like a piece of like feminist literature of a kind, where like it's targeting these specific demographics who have like these ownership ideas in relationships.
I mean, that is what it was to me. It was like trying to counter a lot of different misogynistic things in culture, in boys that age, in like Marty Stew fan fiction. You know, that's why the council ends up being feminists, you know, or feminazis as he calls them. And so it was meant to be like a satirization of people like that, but even so, there's points where I think it just went too far to where it ends up wrapping back around to being, at the very least, very gross, you know? Right. And that chapter is that to me, even though it has some of my favorite lines otherwise.
Would you be able to quote one of those lines?
Yeah, I mean, like, his Buick is huge. Just fucking fuck me, fucker. No, he is not, you fucking corpse fucker. I remember that line. At the end where Naruto kills himself and Ronin doesn't care, but Sakura yells, "Moo!" Those lines.
So if we had the director's cut, that would be something that would be removed.
Yes, or changed very differently, reshot.
So what are some of your other favorite moments? I am scrolling through this thing real quick. You had Edfred say, "Are you not now understanding the gravity of our predicament?" Is that a reference to something? Is that a intentional? Is that a nod to something?
No, I think I just. Yeah, I think that's just Edfred speaking. Okay. Yeah. Let me look. What are some of the moments that I really like? The weird thing is, like, some of the on the fly chapters have some of my favorite things in them. This is gonna sound terrible.
Okay.
But the sex scene in chapter 15 is one of my favorites because it's so grotesque. I don't know if you recall.
I'm looking through it right now. Oh. So this is when he ate me, I got put back together in his stomach and then was pooped out. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the sex scene that comes after that. Yeah.
Okay.
I could read it if you want me to.
You know, I would love to hear you read one of your favorite segments. I would love that more than anything else in the world.
Okay, I have to put on a straight face for this because reading this now, it does make me laugh because I'm so distant from it and seeing how ridiculous it is.
Right.
So I might be corpsing a bit here.
I would not expect you not to.
Okay. So, let's start. I'll just start from the beginning of this paragraph.
Okay, this very long paragraph in mine.
Actually, no, let's not do that. We don't need to go over all that.
Okay.
Let's see. Then Sakura came up behind me. But she is, Ronana. Accept it. Okay, fine, she is. Yes, she is now, Ronan. I love you. You can't love her anymore. She's your mom. We must divorce that fucking bitch, and then we can run away forever. Burr, as in the tree. We tell you right back. I'm sorry. It's just so ridiculous to read this out loud. Like, I still can't believe I wrote it. Okay.
Do you want me to do like the narrative and you do the voices, or the other way around, or something like that?
You do the voices and I'll do the narrative.
Okay.
Okay. And we teleported back, but when we did, everything was different. It was dark. Nobody was there, and we saw a calendar. We were in the future.
How is this possible?
I screamed.
I don't know.
Said Asakura. Then Mandy came up to us.
Oh, hey guys.
Mandy, I thought you were dead, we said.
When he ate me, I got back together in his stomach and then was pooped out. Ow, awk.
I kissed her. She was so fucking hot. That is Asakura. But still, she was so fucking hot. We began to walk to the dojo. It was sunny out. When it was time to practice, we were all sweaty, and I had a boner, and Sakura and Mandy were... Sakura and Mandy were gassy and farting all over the room. It was so sexy. I'm sorry. Okay. Was so G-sexy smelling that I looked over and saw Mandy and Sakura fucking Scar. Sakura was scugging Mandy with a katana. It was so fucking ho. Mandy was bleeding. God damn it.
I can't imagine what you're going through as like the creator who is now suffering from your own invention.
Yeah, Mandy was Sakura was scugging Mandy with a katana. It was so fucking ho. Ho. Mandy was bleeding, but she didn't die or anything, so it's okay. Oh, that's you.
No, that's not in quotes. It doesn't count.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you take it, you ugly slut. Sarah to Mandy, and she fucked her so hard that I came over there and started to fuck Mandy's ass while I visited Sakura in her pussy. And ass. And as her ass juggled, as I put my arm in and shoved it up there, I could feel her farting on my arm, and I could feel the inside of her, and there was poop, but not much. Anyway, my arm was warm from the gas. It was so fucking hot, and I was fucking Mandy virtuously. Oh, fuck yeah, my ass, fuck. Okay, yeah, said Mandy, and then I came in and it blouted her stomach with all my cum. So I got up and stood on her stomach. She barfed all the cum up onto Sakura. So it looked like Sakura had gotten a giant facial. So I'm like Kermit, or rather Jordan Peterson. Right there. But she hadn't. It was Mandy's barf. God, it was so sexy then. Mandy and Sakura started to make out and touch each other's tits. Sakura shoved her tit into Mandy's mouth and squeezed it to milk it. Mandy drank all the milk and peed it out for Sakura to drink. I got hard to gay, so this time I cucked. Oh my god! I cucked Sakura in the pussy. God, she loved it. I could see the head of my cock bulging out of her stomach. And so my dick went further in and went into her breast, and then the cum squirty out mixed with milk, and Mandy drank it. And then I love that it just skips to, as we walked outside the next day.
How do you feel now that you know that multiple people did the whole thing, and they did that for 69 chapters? How do you feel as the creator of this Saw-esque chamber that people have put themselves through?
I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like, I don't understand, like, how... I guess it's funny for me because I know it was all a joke. You know, it was all in jest. And, like, I have distance from it, so I see how ridiculous it is while still kind of knowing what was going on. But I guess I actually in some ways surprised that more people weren't kind of like breaking up reading this shit, because like me now looking at it, it's just so ridiculous. Like,
well, I think this was also like a bit of a product of the time. You know, when people would let's play I Want to Be the Guy, and like the idea is that you like inflict the pain upon yourself for other
Yeah.
people's amusements. You know, you watch the terrible movies and then
Yeah.
scream about how terrible they are.
Yeah. I mean, even just looking over the rest of this chapter, like, the lines are just ridiculous. Like, as we walked outside the next day, we were talking, but then all of a sudden, Taliana appeared from out of nowhere and said, "Son, you must stay on the dark side, not with these whores." "No, I can't, Mom. I have to stay with them. I love them." "No, you don't." "Yes, I do." We argued all night. Like, just thinking about what the lines actually mean and thinking about
You're right.
yeah, it's killing me. Thinking about people actually saying this shit.
There is audio. There is audio on the internet of me saying every line of the entire story up
But,
until
like, not
chapter 57.
not a reader. Like, think of, like, in like a conversation. This is what people are saying to each other. And then let me see. Let's see. We fought. I threw punches at her, but it was no use. And then Medora showed up and picked up Sakura and Mandy. "I haven't them with me. You die or they die." "Okay, I give up. I join." And so we off into the night. Just like that in this next paragraph, it's like they're mwahaha, like some sort of cartoon villain.
And then the other people, like, who are evil also pick up the mwahahaha.
Yes. Everybody starts doing that. It's like ridiculous. Also, I love that Ronan drowns his mother fucking her. In this next paragraph,
Oh my god.
what does he say before it's happened?
I'm quite enjoying the bit where you just have so I said hello to the man inside. He said he name was Benji. Open parentheses, haha, space, close parentheses, and then I said, fuck or are evil, I sense it. Who are right, die. He tried to hurt me, but he was a stupid bath, so he couldn't do it. I blew up the house, and he was all dead, and body parts flew everywhere, and blood was everywhere. He was dead, and then I said I had to piss, and I did, and I peed all over him, lol. And then it's just Miyagagagaka yelled me and we flew it back at the lawyer. Like
Yeah. I mean, just that scene that comes after. I was sitting by our black, evil pool. Like, what the fuck? When Talina came up and said, "You are my son and I love you, now let's fuck," "I can't fuck you, you're my mom." But then she said, "Well, only kind of, so it's okay." Like, what?
And then the next line, "Oh, I see, let's fuck."
We fucked in the pool. I dragged her under and upped her huge, drooping, loose pussy that was swayed back and forth when she walked. Like, that's disgusting. And then I wrapped her long pussy lips around my big... Like, what the fuck?
It's like a grotesque parody of inflation porn.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it's like, what? She shits herself and dies in the pool, but then is revived, like, literally a few minutes later. Yeah, I mean, I just love a lot of the lines and dialogue. I would say, like, right here, "No, you moronic retard."
I was about to say that exact line.
Which I don't like saying that word, for the record, but in the context of this, I do find it very funny as being such a ludicrous line. What happens later on? Oh.
I don't know if you're familiar with 40 H's.
Yes, I am very familiar with it. I loved that fic. That was a minor influence on this.
If you don't mind my saying, I think that is actually like this sort of same idea, but done, tolerably.
Yeah.
Done in a way that doesn't hurt to read.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't know if you've checked it recently, but the author added an introductory chapter saying, like, I wrote this as a troll, and now I see, some of these are not necessarily okay, and I'm not sure this was my place to satirize these elements, but it remains up as a testament because I am admitting that what I did, and and so forth. Which, in a way, is what you're doing now. Although you have to do it on this larger scale because of the large scale of what you did.
Yes. I actually hadn't read that. That's great. I mean, like, I'm glad that they owned up to that. I should take a look at that.
Link in the description.
Yes, no, please do. I mean, okay, here, let's see what else happens here. Okay, I was walking cruelly around the house. How do you walk cruelly? But every budu was gone. Madri has taken us help, said a note. How did they have time to write the note? Then he teleports. How does he teleport? I mean, Taliana said that she was still evil. That's another thing. I love how frequently Taliana just switches sides. Like, in the course of paragraphs it happens. Or in a single paragraph she will switch.
I also quite like just the concept of, like, you are evil, so you have to do these evil things. Which, in the context of the story, are, like, they're not even, like, that evil. Like, we are... There's one bit where, like, there's a fat acceptance movement as, like, part of the council's evil plan.
Yes.
And, like, we are evil, so we have to accept fat people. Which is a glorious concept to put into anything.
God. Yeah, and I love that it's like, it's Sasuke becomes really fat, and like he's also bald or something, and then he becomes king of shinobi and forces everyone to just eat burgers or some shit, or like butter. I don't remember.
Oh, that reminds me of something else. Was it Five Guys or In and Out? I can't remember.
In and Out, which is something I fucking hate because I think it's so fucking overrated.
Yes, I agree completely.
But I figured some Southern Californian dweeb from the OC like him would love it. But yeah, that's actually something else that I do really remember fondly is like how the characters that he would portray as being the bad guys would literally call themselves idiots. Like, what? There's a line in chapter 31 where the council hires an agnostic to kill Ronin because agnostics are evil to Jake because they can't pick a side. But they literally say, I think one of the councilmen was like, we can't work with an agnostic. They don't know if they believe in God. And then the German councilwoman or the brown-haired one is like, no, yes, we can. They're dumb like us. Just like... I feel like that happens throughout it, where like the characters that Jake doesn't like and call themselves like idiots or things such as that. You know?
I specifically remember like there's like one scene where I believe he holds up like a copy of the God Delusion, and they're like, oh no, the logicness, it burns.
Yes, that does happen.
Which, if there's like one line of the story that like it could last throughout time as like an immortal like scene, and like that really does work as like an amazing satire, I would say it's like those lines.
Oh yeah, the logicness, it hurts. He also says OMD, which like that was actually, well, I'm gonna retroactively say that to shout out. It was not at the time, but he says that it's oh my Dawkins.
I think you do put that in at one point. I'm pretty sure that line does happen.
No, it does happen. He eventually says, oh my Dawkins. But for a while was saying OMD, which multiple readers didn't realize until later on when he actually says it that that's what it was.
Maybe they thought it was like oh my devil or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see, like
in My Immortal, isn't there some line like oh my Satan?
Mm-hmm. That happens. There's a lot of shout-outs to My Immortal in this, definitely.
I'm amazed I didn't pick up on any of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of references people didn't pick up on either because they were really obscure or they were just kind of very subtly put in there.
Which I suppose is like the mark of like a good reference, that it like just enhances the tone of the overall piece without distracting and making it like just and making the narrative stop to reference this other thing.
Yeah. Which I think that starts to happen later on in some ways. But at that time, I was just like, I'm not throwing it in there since people don't really seem to be realizing quite yet what's going on.
I think like part of the thing was like there were two options, right? Like one is that it's a troll fic, in which case we have to accept that this was intentionally written by someone, and then the other is okay, it's not a troll fic, in which case we have to accept that this terrible person exists, and both sides are terrible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me see, like other chapters that I thought were funny. I mean, there's like in chapter 10, I like when he just randomly blinds Taliana and she's like, I love you, Ronan, but I can't see you. Okay. And then like what? Actually those middle chapters in like the teens where I was winging it, I really like those a lot. But there's some of the more absurd ones in some ways. I mean, like, I love the first concert one, where it goes into a paragraph-long rant by him, and literally the plot is, well, quote-unquote plot is abandoned, and then he literally just restarts the scene in the next paragraph as if we hadn't already done it, as if I hadn't already written it. I love in chapter 16...
Just real quick, I want to just mention the name of the band.
Oh yeah,
Titty Monster.
Yes, and that was a shout out to a very old meme that I'm surprised almost nobody got. The only person who got that seemed to be from that meme was Moidura.
What was the meme? I'm not familiar. That might have been before my time.
It comes from. Let me look it up. It was this really weird manga, and it's a manga about incest, and it's like this hits hentai. The meme emerged in 2008, and it's like this kid has a really hot older sister.
Naturally.
And this crop top that says Mega Milk, so of course she was yes.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah. And then at some point, like, she's taunting her little brother. I have it right here. And she's like, are my tits disturbing you that much? And they say, shut the fuck up, you titty monster. Which I think was a translation. But, so it's like, it's a reference to that.
Okay.
I also just love that term, titty monster. Like, it doesn't make sense.
And here are the lyrics that Jake wrote. Yeah, girl, want fuck you heard, tight little pussy, my dick's hard. I sang and everybody was wowed, but, never mind. I thought there were more lyrics because they were in all caps. There's a lot of all caps in many chapters.
Yes, there's a lot. There's also a lot of scenes where there's no quote marks.
or close or open parentheses appear with no corresponding element.
Yeah.
And since you planned it out so much, I remember making this joke back when I read it. Like, if all of the parentheses like would eventually like cancel each other out, like if you'd like somehow planned like, okay, there'll be 3 open here and 3 closed down the lane or something like that. Does that happen?
There are cases where that does happen. There are cases, where like certain punctuation or lack of punctuation was definitely intentional, or things like that.
I mean, like, does the overall story, like, if you do all of the open parentheses and closed parentheses cancel out? Was that like part of your plan?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm not.
That's fair.
Credit. There are definitely scenes where like I intentionally didn't put quotation marks on something. A lot, definitely when I was writing it, there would be a lot of times where I would always. So what happened is I would write the first chapter.
I thought you were about to say draft, and I was going to be, you wrote drafts?
Yeah, I wrote drafts.
Wait, you really did?
Yes, I would write a draft. I mean, I would write a chapter. Once I finished one chapter, I would write the draft for the next one and then revisit it when it was time for me to want to post it. That draft would usually be written more straight, and then I would go back through it and chop it up. put in like different errors, lack of quotation marks, bad syntax, so on and so forth. Review it again and then post it like the next day. So there was editing going on. It was just editing to make it worse.
That's amazing. Something else I'm wondering just now. So there are a few chapters that do not have official titles.
Yes.
Is there a significance to which numbers are not given titles?
No, I just could not think of a title for those, so I didn't do it.
Although I noticed you say you couldn't think of a title, but a few chapters before, one of them is just called The.
Think of name later.
Does that happen?
That as the title, like within the text itself, it's like chapter something, and then it says notes. Think of name later. That was intentional. That wasn't me just putting that there. Although it was because I couldn't think of one. It was just I decided to be like, oh, let's make this funny note. Think of name later. But yeah. Let's see. I'm on chapter 16 now. Let me see where. See, this is really funny to me. Where they're like they just transport to the desert after having sex in space and being sucked into a black hole. See, where are we? Asked them because they weren't smart. We are in the Shaboni Desert, I said. How would we get out? We didn't know. We walked 4 days and we're welcoming. Taliana revealed the most shocking secret ever. I am not Taliana. There is no Talina. What the fuck are you telling about, you fucking bitch? Said Sakura. What do you mean? I asked. I am Sakura's twin of darkness. No, this can't be. This is impossible. No, but it was Tulatu. Mwahaha. She took off her Talene mask and showed her face. She looked like Sakura, but had black hair and was pale. She was evil. So, what I want to point out about this is the description. She took off her Talene mask and showed her face. She was like Sakura, but had black hair. Sakura, but had black hair was her description when she was introduced.
Oh, I don't think anyone paid enough attention to notice that. I'm sorry.
So, I just love the idea that she's taking off this mask like a Scooby-Doo villain, and it's just the same person. But it's still treated as shocking. So
it's like that one GIF that I've seen a few times of the wrestler who's like hiding in a crowd and he pulls off the mask of a wrestler and it is that actual wrestler underneath with his face paint.
Funny enough, the important thing in chapter 16, it's where I did introduce the whole Ronin will destroy the world thing. And so that was probably the first thing I planned out, period, was that would be near the end, that he'd destroy the world. So there's that.
I completely forget how that gets resolved, if it does at all.
It does. It does happen. But here, I love chapter 17, that concert, because it's so ridiculous. Let me see.
So we met that night at a stadium, just a stadium.
Yeah.
That is the name this chapter later one. But so we met that night at a stadium, and I began to sing, "Fuck yeah, suck my dick, fucking whore, yeah, I want more." Then she sang her dong, "Oh baby, I need love, ooh, or the only man for me," and I wanked you. It was a stupidly girly song, and Madara loved it because he's a fag.
Yeah, God. I just love that they're doing these horrible sex acts on stage. Let's see. Like when Sakura came and clooped to my face and then she opened up her butt to the audience and all the audience came and sniffed her part. Also, here. Sakura came over and farted on Talana's face and Talana sniffed it. It smells so good, give me more. And Sakura ate a burrito and farted so much Talana almost died. I like also other random things that people didn't seem to find shocking because it will be followed up a little bit later on. Like I think in that first chapter, in that first concert in chapter 13, it's mentioned that there's like 3 million people at his concert, which A, does not make sense. But then it said that Taliana zapped the crowd and everyone's dead. And you don't think about it until later, it's like she killed 3 million people.
Oh yeah. The heroes of this story have an increasingly high death count as the story goes on. Does the council ever actually kill anyone? I don't remember if it happens.
No, they don't. That's the thing. I don't think they end up killing anybody. They educate some people, but they don't end up killing anyone except for like the cougar's head.
Oh, that reminds me. There's a bit where you switch perspective to the cougar.
Oh, I love that one. That's it. That one's really confusing. And that's in chapter 7. Let me find it. Yes, I woke from being taken by Madara. I didn't know what to do, but my pussy was dripping wet and steamy. It hurt so much because Ronan's cock was so fucking big. But what, could I say no or something? No, I couldn't because he is sexy and his cock is gigantic. I knew when I first saw him that I loved him. He was so hot. He had big muscles and stuff. But I was so scarred because I knew I could die because Orochimaru is evil and says he wants to tear him apart. But I knew Ronin would come. It sounds like I'm speaking like fucking Scots, some weird cross between Scots and Swedish right now. But I knew Ronin would come because he is a man and it was his job to save me. I need Sving. I was so scared I cried and wept and rubbed my pussy while thinking about him, blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden Ronin burst in. Then, oh God. I love this was my excuse for switching Orochimaru to Madara. He blew out at Mandor, though he didn't know it was Madara. Then he took off his mask and said, "Ha-sha-ha, you stupid imbecile fool. I just disguised myself as Orochimaru so I could kidnap this fucking bitch."
Which does not make sense at all.
Madara vanishes, but it was okay. We were fine. So then Ronin carried Sakura, Mandy, Fiona, and me.
Is that a My Immortal reference? Because there's the one bit where it says Draco, Ebony, and I.
Yes. It was a reference to My Immortal. But the great thing here is, like, I remember multiple people were like, who is Fiona? And it's not, you do not know until, like, some 40 that the cougar is named Fiona.
Sorry, you cut out there a little bit. Would you be able to repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah. So what's funny is that you do not know until like 40 chapters later that the cougar's name is Fiona.
So even this early, you were playing the long game.
Yeah, but nobody knew when they were reading this that who Fiona was. They just thought it was some other random addition to the harem that never gets followed up on. But which, like, I love the cougar's ghost head thing, especially that her head gets fused with Sakura's ass later on.
Oh, I completely forgot about that, and now I don't know how.
Which, like, really raised questions of how did Sakura poop?
There's a lot of questions that this story answers, or that this story raises but does not answer.
Oh, it says here 17-inch tongue.
Gene Simmons over here. I'm specifically thinking of it was one of the later chapters. The Hot Springs Festival, Part 2, where it ends with the hot springs being turned into Ronin's cum, and then like the two other hot springs turned into Fiona and Sakura's cum.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know how that happened either. I don't even remember how I came up with some of these things, but I love. I love when Jake tries to tell jokes, especially the ones that make absolutely no sense. Or, like in chapter 19, when he goes to get Sakura's ball dress and outfit. Like, I love that one because it's so ridiculous. They go to a store called Big Bald Reese's. There's a very sexy lady who worked there, and it says, she was chewing gum and blowing sathriixy boobles, but I wished those boobles were my cock. Let's see. Sakura gets a dress that is black and has flaming XD You guys get it right because I bet I'm sure fucking retards. Lamborghinis and Ferraris on it, and flaming Japanese letters. I love her makeup. She had pink leather straps and little holes where her nipples pooped out and a studded belt. The lower part of the dress was see-through, so you could see her dripping red, wide open pussy that was making the dress soaking wet. She had big boots on that were part high-heeled stilettos, and she was wearing a baseball cap that said, "Ronin is so hot." And then she was wearing a see-through leather jacket, which, as Gub Gub said, how can leather be see-through? That doesn't make sense.
I kind of want to, like, commission someone to, like, draw this.
And it had fur on its neck, but then she's wearing bright blue eye makeup, pink cheek makeup, and she painted her eyebrows purple. And it's like, this is clearly someone who has no fucking clue how any femme would dress, period.
How anyone would dress, to be honest.
Yeah, how any person. And it's like, the last edition is, the dress blows up in a lot because she farts. But also the moment that comes after here where they decide to have sex with the woman who works there. Sakura has a skull purse, so she skull fucks this woman, and then the girl sucks his dick, and it says she ended up choking. Let's see. Then I came up and she sucked my dick. Well, she tried, but she couldn't. It was so big, and she ended up choking to death on my dick.
So we left.
So he kills this random person, which he does later on with the paparazzi lady, who he throws off the balcony. And let's see, we got in our car. Then on the I don't know. On the way to the next place. Let's see. Sakura talked. OMG, I can't wait for the Shibobi ball. Yes, I guess. Octopuses, said Sakura.
What?
Yes, slut, said.
What does that mean?
It didn't mean anything. I think it was my way of kind of trying to make fun of the OMG so random kind of jokes that like teenagers were sort of making at the time. But yeah, this is ridiculous. Like,
there's another chapter that stands out in my mind. The weed chapter.
Oh yeah.
Which one is that again?
Chapter 47.
Which is called "Sadder Way to Big Suckin' Cock." Is that a Led Zeppelin reference?
Yes.
Nice.
In some strange way. I wrote this because I had writer's block. And so I was like, I'm just going to do something really strange.
It makes it really hard to make fun of because it's just, like, there's already this almost dream logic where things just go away or come back, and then this just, like, breaks it to this, like, stream of consciousness thing. I fucked them so hard they are so god agrams te refilled the pecan wilt pussy juice, but 10 sun fell from the sky and it grew an eye and it said, "What the f are you dong?" And he barfed on us and the tons of little Sakura heads were in the barf, so I fucked the heads. What?
I don't know. That's a reference to Dexter's Lab, though. This little Sakura heads. There's like some weird episode that was based off some kid's story submission, and there's like some sort of scene where there's like a bunch of Mandark heads or something. I don't know, but it was a reference to that. I know that. Yeah, like
it's like fucking Axe Cop almost.
Yeah. Those were kind of my inspirations, though, in some ways. Those kind of movies and stuff where there's just no logic. I mean, just look at... Someone pointed this out. In Chapter 6, there's the temple bombing that kills Kakashi Ronan and Sasuke, literally all of those characters come back. So nobody died. It was pointless. Naruto, as a matter of fact, kills himself. And then in the next chapter after that is just alive without any explanation whatsoever. As if that scene never happened. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other like highlights to me, but I feel like it is just those moments. Like there's just the sheer lack of logic that's going on in it. How little things really make any sort of sense, and how absurd some of this dialogue is. Yeah.
I'm looking over the last chapter, and...
Or 69.
Yeah. So here it is now. Can you all believe, fans? This is the end of Veangance Revelaitons. Wow, it's been such a long journey, and I'm so glad you've got lots of fans who massage me. It's like a twisted parody of a grand finale. And it doesn't it end with him actually like blowing up the entire world or something?
Oh, no. How it ends is like he destroys the world in chapter 66. The world is not rebuilt. Instead, the whole thing is like the driving plot that eventually emerges is like the council's trying to retrieve this medallion that's in the shape of a vagina, and that the wearer of whoever gets it will like be transported to this dimension, sex dimension, and get to fuck forever. So Ronan wants it to have sex with Sakura forever, and that's literally the driving plot line for the last 20 chapters or so, the search for the medallion. And so chapter 69 is literally called Ronan Wins, spelled correctly, surprisingly. And then, well, yeah, he wins. He fucks Sakura forever, and then his son Ekaj and his sort of sex partner, but now son's wife, Otni, end up having to repopulate the Earth, which is still destroyed.
It's... I'm thinking of like... You know how, like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like, the original ending is just, like, this depressing, like, we are all doomed forever? Yeah. This is how reading that end, feels a little bit. Like...
Oh, yeah.
I shoved my dick into her cunt, and we were forever together this way, so I screamed, "Fuck yeah!" The end. Well, that's it, guys. The store's over. Glad I got so many fans that loved it. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine that "fuck yeah" in, like, Donald Sutherland's Scream. Like, imagine it that way. And everyone reading this is Veronica Cartwright. So,
I'm thinking of it almost like the Star Wars Episode 3. So this is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause. Yeah.
I mean, with equally as bad writing too.
But now, come on, some things are too far. Even for George Lucas.
But yeah, I mean, what are some other questions? Because I know we didn't really talk about my big regrets in it.
I thought we did a little bit. Like, did you?
There were multiple.
Okay. Yeah. What are some of your other regrets beyond that one scene with the mutilation?
There's a later scene, effectively, where he sexually assaults one of the members of the council. That way too far to me. I don't like that chapter at all. Let's see, what else? Within the story, the other issue is that the things Benji likes are reflective of things I liked at the time, much of which I do not like anymore.
That is something I was wondering, how you came up with the character of Benji. So Benji is essentially you doing your best?
Yes. Benji was actually kind of wish fulfillment in a weird way. He was into all the things I liked. He was like all the things that I kind of was. But even though he had Jake as his stepbrother, I don't know, he's like ends up dating somebody and shit like that. So, yeah, it was wish fulfillment.
Oh yeah, he steals a girlfriend from Ronan, right? Or is that what happens?
Jake? No. What happens is he becomes friends with Katie, and then he convinces Katie to break up with Jake, and that results in one of the other infamous scenes, Taliana's murder in chapter 23, where she's beaten up, set on fire, torn apart, and then thrown into the toilet where Sakura poops on her body parts. And that was Jake's way of lashing out at Katie. But then, what is it? Then, like, Benji comes out as bi, which I identified that way then. I don't identify with anything now.
Well, I'm not pressuring you to identify yourself beyond, any degree.
Oh, yeah. No,
if you want, I'll go back and censor your last name earlier.
No, I really don't care at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then, like, he ends up dating this guy, and then, like, what is it? Benji's mom gets divorced from the dad, but then, what is it, like, Benji makes out with one of Jake's brothers or some shit? I don't know. It was all very elaborate. And I mean, Benji was meant to just kind of be, A, an author avatar, but B, the impetus of creating the meta-narrative. Like, having him allowed me to create that whole surrounding story. And allow it to expand. And really create more of like an interactive experience in some ways, because he then becomes present. He wrote a review. He hacked the Twitter account. He wrote the last chapter, so on and so forth. So, but let me see here. Yeah, in chapter 18, again, because Benji is a reflection of things I liked, Ronan and Sakura decide to go to a video store. And he pulls off movies from a shelf, and they're Pulp Fiction, Vertigo, Taxi Driver, and Blade Runner, and also some silent movies. And then he trashes those and says, "Fuck you, Benji, for making me watch those." I strongly do not like two of those movies now, being Pulp Fiction and Blade Runner. Especially Pulp Fiction, since I want Tarantino to jump off a fucking cliff. I do like Vertigo, and I do love Taxi Driver still. But so that's really cringy for me in a lot of ways. Those are also not anywhere near my favorite films now either. But as like someone really passionate and hardcore into film, that makes me cringe. Now, also some of the music Benji liked, I don't like anymore either. I mean, like, let me see.
I believe he name checks Britney Spears at some point, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Lady Gaga.
Yes.
Which, like, yeah, I definitely don't like that now outside of, like, one or two songs. I don't remember what else he name checks. I think Hole is name checked, which actually I still, like, live through this a lot and Pretty on the Inside.
Oh, bad taste.
Whatever. He name checks Arcade Fire, which I don't like anymore except for their original EP, which is amazing. Everything else after that is too over the top and bombastic. Yeah, I mean, none of it's really reflective of me now, which I guess is what happens when you write something when you're 16 or 17.
If it makes you feel any better, like my dramatic reading, which I did when I was 13 to 14, like has many of the same problems. Like at one point, I think I like referenced Not Always Right, which I think is one of the worst websites on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, and I say something at the beginning like, this is in protest of something that happened on TV Tropes that I'm doing this. It's like, why? That doesn't even make sense. Nobody cares.
No, yeah, there's tons of shit like that, you know. Um, but honestly, maybe my biggest regret of all was that Jake makes the Illuminati feminists capitalists. That is the thing I am maybe most regret. Because my politics at the time were sort of like vaguely libertarian. I am now so far left that I am off the bottom of the political compass chart. So that doesn't sit well with me at all. I'm really unhappy about that. If I'd written it now, definitely Jake would have been like a. I mean, written, I wouldn't write it now, but years later, Jake would have been like a Gamergator, crypto fascist, anarcho capitalist, like likes Murray Rothbard and Milo, any of that bullshit. Yeah, I don't like that at all. But unfortunately, yeah, again, it's one of those things that's reflective of where I was at the time.
Right.
So.
Well, there was like some writer, and I completely forget like not only his name but like the actual quote, but it's like something like every uh every book that I write is like a message to myself in the future or something like that, or is a photograph of myself at a particular point in time. I forget the whole context to that, but like that's relevant.
It's true. It's very true. Any sort of piece of art you're going to make is going to be reflective of whatever it is you were going through or thinking about at that time. And I'm sure I'll look back at anything I've done now and been like, oh, okay, weird.
You'll call me up in 5 years and be like, we need to do this commentary track on that interview you did because I'm so ashamed of it now.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that I was like really regretted. Regrets. I kind of wish I'd gotten to finish New Champion Evangelion. Evangelion is still something I like, although really only the end of Evangelion. But yeah, that one has like a lot of really good references in it. It's actually funny. I have it pulled up right here. If you read. It's like the writing is overall much better. Like you can make out the beginning of this first chapter. Chapter 1, The Arrival, no misspellings. The year was 2015 and the world had been as the first misspelling, blown up by the 2 impact or some stupid shit like that. Anyway, my name was Eckhart and I'm 5 years old. So there's like 3 typos there compared to like Veangance Revelaitons where there would be like 10. You know,
yeah, like right now, I'm looking at that, and there are some sentences that are just all typos, like "who are evil, it's destiny, Ronan, mahahaha." Like there are 2 words that are not misspelled in that.
I mean, even the intro makes more sense. It's like, I'm 6 feet tall and have dark red hair. Okay, natural hair color, real height. With some blue streaks in it and 1 gold streak. Because Naruto is 1/4 my father. Like, oh my god. I have blue eyes that shine sexily when the girls look into them, and I have huge biceps, 20 inches around, normal, big pecs and an 8-pack. That's technically possible. My penis is 15 inches long. Not possible, but almost.
What's the world record? Isn't it like 17 inches or something? I read something somewhere, but I'm not sure how true it is.
It's supposed to be like 13, but in reality, no one actually knows. I'm like, so, like, if he was being realistic about having a giant dick, it'd be like 11 inches long or some shit.
Right. Sorry, I was very semantic, but I was just thinking out loud.
No, yeah. And this is the same as my age, haha. And then my balls are the size of tennis balls. Like, I mean, maybe if you have like some certain diseases, like it's possible to have like,
wasn't that like one of Gub Gub's theories or something like that? Several people in the story had like bizarre bodily anatomy diseases.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I if you want to psychologize it like that, then yeah, let's say that they do. Clinicalize it, whatever, that's not a word. But anyway, um, yeah, also all the chapters for New Champion Evangelion are pretty long and do have a plot overall. Uh, but yeah, I mean, what else would you want to know about this? Or me, just in general, you know?
Well, uh, I think like reading this and knowing that like this is sort of like the inverse of like what you would set out to actually like create genuinely sort of gives me like a semi decent idea of who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you just take Jake and like invert him, you get something that is not unlike yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which is a strange feeling, you know. Um, well, we do have just like 12 more minutes left before I have to be heading off. Uh, I don't know if you have any like last comments. I can't quite think of any more noticeable. Oh wait, Aremika takes over Shimobi. So what was the inspiration for that? For like the injection of like the real world into Naruto, specifically in like this way, or like the way where all modern musicians like appear and then are immediately killed.
I mean, like, again, it was all just a way of Jake espousing what he believes, even if it didn't make sense, you know, like, all modern musicians, he puts them in the story so he can bash them, even though it doesn't make sense that they could be there. You know, with, like, the America thing that was building off of his anti-capitalist stuff, and, like, oh, he really doesn't like America, he hates the country he's from, so on and so forth. And it's like, I hate America now, too, so I wish that that wasn't in there either, you know.
Well, at the time, things were less horrible, so it's understandable.
I mean, things have always been terrible here. But they're just more obvious in how awful they are now, or people are more awakened to it. But yeah, you know, like I said at the time, I was more like a almost libertarian. So again, that was just part of that. It's like, oh, look at these idiot young kids who don't like America and think capitalism's dumb and all that shit.
There was one reading that was done in the form of an old school sporking that like actually pointed out how like a lot of the stuff Jake says regarding capitalism isn't entirely wrong.
Yeah.
I also quite right now I'm looking at chapter 62 and there's one sentence that I think has aged particularly poorly. Germany has done lots of evil stuff. They used to be really extreme, and the Nazis are extreme Ned racist because extrianity caused racism. Besides, Germans are white. You can't be racist to white. Besides, I'm white, so how could I be racist to other whites? Don't do no shit. No, I guess not.
Yeah, that's... It's aged poorly.
Yes.
Aged very poorly in terms of, you know, where I'm at now. So, yeah, there's moments like that, and I really don't like them. But again, those all ended up coming out from my desire to have Jake bash the things he doesn't like, which were things I liked at the time or things I believed at the time, and so on and so forth. So occasionally, I side with Jake on some things.
How does that make you feel that this inverted version of yourself in previous years is now standing alongside you on certain issues? How do you feel about that?
disquieted, um, somewhat disturbed. But, I mean, I could maybe say subconsciously I knew those things were correct or true, or I just didn't know it yet. That's bullshit, but, yeah. I'm trying to think of, like, anything else, like, things that happen related to DeviantArt.
Well, how about we like end this for now, and then people like we'll post this on YouTube.
Yeah.
And people are free to submit questions to you, to the creator of Naruto Veangance Revelations about specific scenes or things like that.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds great. One thing I was going to add, though, is nobody really knew this, but I did write one other troll fic, not as Jake.
Oh, so not as that same page? Because I know there was like the Transformers story of some kind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, I totally forgot about that. I only did like 2 chapters of it and then gave up. No, there was one that was not written by Jake or Katie. I also wrote Reaper Girl, those 2 chapters that Katie did. No, I wrote a Doctor Who troll fic.
Do you have the name of that? I'm gonna quickly look that up on Safari.
Let me just check right now. Let's see. I'm looking it up in my email right now. Honestly, I don't know.
Ah, it's a mystery for the ages. Which of the terrible Doctor Who fan fictions out there was
Yeah,
was you?
I don't know where it is, but there was a very bad Doctor Who fanfic that I wrote that I am kind of still proud of. And then I wrote. I had.
We're unlocking the secret history.
Oh, it was called The Doctor's Soulmate.
The Doctor's. That certainly sounds like a fan fiction.
I have it. Oh, I have it all here, actually. Wow. Okay, and then I also wrote this one Harry Potter satire. And then I wrote a Degrassi fanfic that was my own actual sincere fanfic, and I never want to read it again. I don't want to see what that looks like now, but yeah. So I mean, I did other troll works. The Doctor Who fanfic never took off, even though it got some bad reviews.
I think it's quite telling that I searched for fanfiction.net, the Doctor's Soulmate, and there are multiple fanfictions that come up before that say soulmate or the Doctor's significant other. You hit the nail on the head with that title.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I guess there's some extra pieces there to the troll puzzle for you in terms of things I've done. Also, people forget Jake's first stuff was on Yahoo Answers. So.
Oh, really? Did he answer things in like a trolly way, or like?
He asked questions.
Oh.
If you look in that email I gave you access to, the email account, there are the original postings there, like the notifications from Yahoo Answers.
Do you remember any of the questions off the top of your head, just because I have internet down, because it makes Skype run faster?
Oh, I mean, one was just like, hey guys, I'm posting a Naruto fic. Hey guys, why don't you like my fanfic? Another one was like, why are Christians so dumb? Shit like that, I think.
You hadn't quite hit your stride yet in creating terrible.
That was the very beginning. The very, very beginning. Yeah, it's interesting looking over the fic and seeing the downward trajectory in like the first 22 chapters until it hits that point of like the lowest of the low, you know? It just gets worse and worse and worse and then just kind of tapers off, you know?
It's kind of like the human centipede. It just it's just the worst thing that you can think of, and then you make it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't really think I have anything more to add that is related to trolling or fanfiction or Jake
All right.
or whatnot.
I'll
So,
well, it's been an extraordinarily enlightening chat. I'll send the audio file to you just so you can let me know if there's anything you want me to cut out or anything like that. And then I'll put it on YouTube, and maybe we'll do like a part 2 if we get responses. If people are still watching my YouTube channel that I made when I was 13 and waiting for new content.
I mean, we can always try to send it to some of the people who roasted this thing on DeviantArt and stuff.
Finally have the big group reading that was destined from the very beginning.
I have always wanted to do that. I have always wanted to get all the people who did dramatic readings together to do one reading. So
Maybe just like your favorite chapter, like one of the teens, when it isn't
yeah,
like actively terrible.
yeah, totally.
All right, so we're all set.
Yep, we're all set.
Okay.